Welcome to Empire Decay, where we dissect the greatest corporate corpses, and today it is Yahoo. An empire once worth $100 billion, but eventually sold itself for the price of a hamburger. Yahoo used to be the face of the entire internet until they decided to strangle themselves with their own hands. Two Stanford students created it just because they were too bored to label the whole world. They called it the manual, and the naive world believed in that total mess. Money poured in like a flood, and the management started building sandcastles in the clouds. In 1998, and two guys from Google knocked on the door asking to be bought for a cheap price. They only wanted $1 million for the search algorithm, but Yahoo said we are busy counting money. Yahoo wanted to keep you on their site forever, so you could watch their pile of garbage ads. Why help you find what you need faster when we can force you to read tabloid news? $1 million for Google, and that was the most expensive sentence of all time. The first mistake, and also the first knife they stabbed into their own giant wallet. Then Yahoo started frantically buying every piece of junk they saw along the way. They bought Geocities and spent billions just to turn the internet into a fairground of broken background music. In 2002, and Destiny knocked again with a price of $3 billion.
Excellent. Welcome aboard.
But the Yahoo boss felt like paying $5 billion to show off, and then the deal went up in smoke. Google packed up and left, and Yahoo once again kicked the life-changing chance into nothingness. They were too busy making a messy portal instead of caring about the technological core. When you want to handle the whole world, and eventually you will end up with empty hands. They thought they were kings until a boy in a hoodie appeared in 2006. Yahoo offered to buy Facebook for $1 billion, and the young man nodded in agreement. But at the last minute, and the giant demanded to lower the price to $800 million because of greed. Mark said get lost, and they just missed the largest social media gold mine on the planet. $1 billion for a social network was too expensive, and they counted themselves like losers. Microsoft saw this stupidity and wanted to save it with $44 billion. They said no again because they thought they were still kings and worth more than that. They were like someone standing in a burning house, but still complaining fire fees were high.
No, get lost.
Eventually, Microsoft walked away, and the empire's value fell like a stone into a pit. They hired a star from Google named Marissa Mayer to create a miracle. What did Marissa do? And she bought dozens more junk companies just to burn money. $1 billion for Tumblr, and a place full of memes and chaos that made no money. They were busy changing the logo every day instead of innovating their rotten products. Customers ran away because the mailbox was full of spam and horrific cyber attacks. When you don't know who you are, then the world will see you as nothing more than a joke. In 2016, and the giant Verizon appeared to pick up the corpse of this empire. $4 billion, and that was the price for a ruin once worth $100 billion. Miss Google missed Facebook and missed their own future. They were busy being kings of the past while the world moved into the AI era long ago. If you don't change, then you will be erased from the internet map immediately. Prepare for the next bitter lessons about this spectacular collapse. Yahoo was like a giant standing in a burning house, but still complaining fire fees were too high. They hired one CEO after another and hoped a miracle would fall from the sky. But instead of saving the tech core, and they bought dozens more dying companies. $5 billion evaporated faster than you could reload an outdated website. The culture here was a mess where big bosses were busy fighting each other. They spent months arguing about the purple color of the logo instead of fixing security bugs. 1 million users left every day, and the management still smirked on their pile of old money. Yahoo Messenger was once the king of messaging, but they forgot phones existed. This slowness cleared the way for tiny players like WhatsApp or Facebook to rise. When the mobile world exploded, and Yahoo was still struggling with a computer keyboard. In 2013, and the largest data breach in history dealt a fatal blow. 3 billion accounts were hacked, and it took them 3 years to dare to admit the truth. It was a collapse of trust that no amount of money could buy back. Marissa Mayer tried to make everything trendy with magazine photo shoots. But users need a good service and not a CEO as a model. $1 billion for Tumblr, and they thought it was the key to capturing the youth. Eventually, Tumblr became a financial burden and was sold for almost nothing. Conservatism and lack of vision turned a king into a digital scavenger. Verizon appeared, and the negotiation was like shopping at a graveyard. The end was set, and Yahoo was just waiting for the final bell to ring. Verizon looked at the broken books and realized they were buying a digital graveyard. They demanded a $350 million discount immediately for the leaked data. The former giant nodded instantly because they knew they had nothing left to bargain with. From $100 billion to less than $5, and that was the most painful freefall in history. The queen of photo shoots left with a golden parachute worth $23 million. Employees got kicked to the street while bosses took the cash and flew away, and that is how the world works. The legendary name was changed to Autopsy, and it sounds like an obsolete curse. What was left was stuffed into a bag named Oath, and nobody bothered to remember after 5 minutes. Do you remember those legendary buzzes? And now they are silent forever. A generation grew up with purple, but this giant killed their childhood with its own hands. They were busy being kings of tabloid news instead of upgrading the search brain. When you stop to enjoy the past, and the world will crush you without any mercy. This is the prime example of having every good card, but still choosing to lose the game. They refused to buy Google, then refused to buy Facebook, and now the result is just a zero. A hollow empire left with only late regrets beneath the old logo. The lesson is never let the big boss's ego crush the company's wallet. If you don't evolve, and you will become a sarcastic piece of history. They missed the appointment with the future, and the future had no time to wait for a slowpoke. Prepare for the next moments of decay for this purple corpse. The death sentence has been carried out, and the conservative paid with their entire kingdom. Yahoo didn't die because they lacked money, but because they had too much ego and too little of a tech brain. They were once a god ruling the whole internet, but chose to sell pieces of garbage news instead. A lesson for every company today is never look down on boys in the garage. Because those boys will come back and buy your entire tower with spare change. Yahoo could have owned the entire ecosystem of this world for the price of a party. But they were too busy pleasing shareholders with fake financial reports. When you try to do everything at once, and eventually you will be nothing. In business, and indecision is the sharpest knife to end your own wallet. Look at the trembling giants of the year 2026. They all carry the seeds of conservatism named Yahoo within them. Never cry that the market is too ruthless when you were the one who gave up first. Refusing to invest in technology is basically digging your own grave. The current world only worships speed and innovation that never rests. Yahoo spent a decade building a web portal out of scrap paper. But they forgot how to build a real technology core. This arrogance is a warning for every startup starting to get some fame. Never love your ego more than the convenience of your customer. Customers will punish you by clicking the delete button immediately. They will abandon you as soon as a smarter tool appears. Yahoo missed the appointment with the future, and the future didn't bother waiting for a slowpoke. Yahoo is the costliest lesson on how a huge ego kills the wallet this fast. They were busy being kings of the past while the world moved into the AI era long ago. The big bosses left with golden parachutes worth hundreds of millions of dollars. If you don't change then, you will be erased from the internet map immediately. Yahoo is the prime example of how conservatism is business suicide. Never cry that we did nothing wrong and yet we lost the game. Doing nothing wrong is the biggest mistake when the whole world is spinning with change. Embrace the future before the future embraces you with a knife in your back. Yahoo is the prime example of having every chance, but still choosing to fail. They refused to buy Google, then refused to buy Facebook, and now the result is just a zero. A hollow empire left with only late regrets beneath the old logo.
Well, that was empty.
A costly lesson worth billions of US dollars for conservatism and stagnation. Be ready to tear down everything you built today,
Perfect. Ready for launch.
so that tomorrow you can build something greater. That is the spirit of survival in this ruthless era. Thanks for watching and stay sharp to survive in this purgatory era.